Hi, everyone. Sorry about that. I was trying to log in and then it said I had to do a bunch of updates. Hold on one second. Okay, here we go. Oh, hi, Brenda. No. Last week I was in Maryland. I am back home. I am back home. Let me see here.
Okay.
Going to spotlight. And happy Halloween, everyone. Let's see here. All right, and there goes Indigo. Um, let's see here. I have my mushroom hat on today. It's the Amanita muscaria, and it's just I was like, all right, I am in it today. I'm also wearing my Harry Potter shirt, which says herbology. It has a bunch of different herbs on it. So in the Halloween spirit today. All right, let me see here. Oh, Indigo is really going today. All right. So here we go. Let me put you guys up there, present. There we go. Hello. So good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, depending where you're tuning in from. Welcome, welcome, welcome. As you already might hear, if it's your first time tuning in, I always like to just let folks know we do have a bit of a flock here. So that was just Indigo, who was serenading us. We do have a pair of parakeets as well, and an African gray parrot. So if you do hear any interesting bird background sounds, that's what's happening. That's what's happening. And thank you so much for tuning in to the Urban Garden Learning Series. And we switch it up every week. So there's classes, Q&As, plant clinics, open forums. Today, we're going to be talking about Leca. And so I've just had a lot of folks asking, and I brought out a bunch of things to show you, and we're gonna talk about Leca. And then next week is going to be a Q&A. And this class is free. It will always be free. If you would ever like to tip or donate or anything like that, feel free to use, because I've been asked to post this up here. And I also did start a Patreon. So if you are interested in subscribing, there you go. I've set that up. And lastly, if you would like to get in contact with me, you can do so through info@urbangarden.eco. That's also our website. And if you would like to connect better on Instagram instead, @urbangarden.eco is our username. Now, I did want to share a few things with you. Yesterday, I led a nighttime Halloween tour at a local park. And so it was so dark. As soon as we got there, that's when it started getting super, super dark. So it was really interesting. I really like doing nighttime hikes. So I brought a bunch of glow sticks, and we all had flashlights, and many of us also used our phones to supplement lighting. So it was a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. Obviously, go with a group. Don't go by yourself into the dark woods at night. But it was so much fun. There was about 20 of us, and just going through Alley Pond Park, and looking at so many trees and shrubs, and so many things are still green and flowering. So we at least got to enjoy them before it starts to get even colder in the next few weeks. So a nice little a little way to spend some time in the park before the it really transitions. Also, because of the season, I wanted to recommend a few books. Let me see here. I grabbed Here you go. So if you are interested in plants overall, or even some plant folklore. So plants overall, I really want to recommend Trees Up Close. And this is a gorgeous book, some gorgeous photography. I'll stop sharing the screen real quick just to show you the books, and then I'll put it up in case anyone wants to grab a screenshot of the list. But I will share the list. So Trees Up Close. If you really are interested in just nature overall and want to really work on plant identification, this is an amazing little book. You can keep it in your backpack, in your bag. It's, it's something that it's just absolutely gorgeous to look at, and has some beautiful close-up photography of trees. These are for the Northeast though, but this is actually part of a set. So there is Trees Up Close, it's this little book, and then there's 3 large books that come in the series. One is Trees Up Close, Seeing Trees. The other one is Seeing Seeds, and the other one is Seeing Flowers. So I always recommend these. The photography is just phenomenal. So if you're interested, definitely recommend that one. In regards to, again, more of the season, in celebration of the season, Wicked Plants. So the weed that killed Abraham Lincoln's mother and other botanical atrocities. This book is absolutely amazing, by Amy Stewart. I love the layout, the artwork. It gives it this really like old kind of spooky feel. But it's amazing. It's a great compilation of folklore stories about plants that are actually poisonous, so that are toxic, how they're placed in history, even things like how poisons were used in hunting. So if you're interested overall just in a little bit of history, and with this kind of looking at it through this lens of poison, it's a really wonderful book to check out. Then if you're interested in, again, more folklore, just in general, this book, the Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs, is a really beautiful book. It's available for free online. I do have the PDF. I'm happy to share it. Just let me know. But it talks just about these different associations with the different plants. So it's not a lot of information on one plant. There's just like little snippets, but they cover a lot of species. And it ranges from different cultures, different continental species. So this one's really wonderful. And then the last 2 is Plant Lore and Legend by Ruth Binney. Also another tiny book, but there's a lot crammed in here. Really wonderful stories, Greek mythology, medicinal uses, also a lot of cross-cultural kind of exchange, some plant symbology as well. There's so much information packed into this tiny book. It's definitely one of those, if you're going on a trip and you're going to a new place, it just really kind of broadens. It just really inspires you to want to learn more. So I definitely recommend that. And the last one, very similar to Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs, is the Green Witch. And so this one is your complete guide to the natural magic of herbs, flowers, essential oils, and more. But it really talks about all these different plants, what kind of folklore was associated with them. It's really interesting how they were used traditionally. Also, there's not much on each plant. It's more of like a quick reference guide. So there's like each plant kind of gets a little paragraph, maybe a sentence or two to like 4 sentences, because she does pack a lot in the book. So again, quick reference guide, but this is a really beautiful book. So I just wanted to definitely recommend these. Yes, I will post them in the chat, and I will put up that slide one more time, just putting down my pile of books here. I will drop them in the chat, and then I'll pop up the slide one more time in case anyone would like to get, let me see here, a screenshot. Hold on one second. Let me put copy paste so I can put that in the chat. There we go. And I'm going to share the screen one more time. So if anybody does want to take a screenshot of these books. So again, it gets you in the Halloween mood. If anyone is interested, I definitely have more. So I was telling Brian, I think I might just make a big list, because this is one of my things with plants, is just not only learning about their botany, about their ecology, about their uses even, and of course in their care, but I'm also really it just really inspires me to learn more about the plant when I even learned, oh look, there's this really cool folklore that's associated with the plant, and it just makes you more well-rounded, I think, if you're working with plants, to really know you know, these fun things. It's yet another way to connect to them. So and maybe it'll inspire someone else to get interested in plants in general. So it's you know, these are some fun books, but I have quite a few more. So I think I'll take the time today to make a more expansive list, and then I'll send that out in case that's of any interest, and I'll post it in the Facebook as well, just in case, because I have many more books on plant lore. But yeah, but these are like my top favorites at the moment. So let me see here. So I'm going to stop sharing this, and if you would like to get a screenshot, can take a second, and I will stop this. All righty. So let's see here. Oh, which one is free online? Yes. The Cunningham book is free online. Scott Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs. And so you look it up, just look up the name and then PDF at the end, and there's so many places that are hosting the PDF for free. Now, if you're kind of worried about that, I have the PDF. I'm happy to email it to you. So, so yes, happy to do so. Oh, which plant does Synth have behind her? Let's see. I'm going through the people in search of Synth.
Jocelyn, I grabbed that from a picture online.
Oh, okay.
It's a picture of fall colors. That's all.
Oh, okay. There we go. Oh, here we go. What in the world? Why are you guys chasing each other? Hello. Oh, I see. Let's see. All right. Oh, and I did want to show you. So on our way back home from Maryland, Brian, of course, was like, we have to stop at a store. So we stopped by Lowe's. And we found these two gorgeous plants for only $19.99. So the Xanthosoma lindenii, absolutely gorgeous. They were selling these here at a local plant shop for about $60. So finding one for $19.99 was great. Absolutely huge. This leaf was a little bit damaged, but that's perfectly fine. It has a new leaf coming out. Absolutely gorgeous. This was a caladium. It was designated as a caladium. It was the Caladium lindenii. and then it was reclassified to xanthosoma. I hope I'm not inverting that, but I think it was caladium, and then it's now xanthosoma. And then I already have a bunch of Perus, but I can't not have more Perus. This is a Monstera Peru. And this leaf has come up in this last week. This one, I think this one and this one had just come up when we purchased them, and so they're hardening off. But look at this, also for 20 bucks. Absolutely huge. So I needed to grab it. It was absolutely gorgeous. And then lastly, on the clearance shelf, so that's what I love about Lowe's, is they have a clearance shelf. They had for $9.99, so we grabbed the two that were there, Rhaphidophorus Hayes. So for $9.99, which here, these plants, you probably won't find them lower than $50. So another kind of unicorn find. So we grabbed both of them. And I'm gonna actually be changing the substrate. I was just letting them kind of acclimate into the home. With this, you can actually see the root is in this kind of sac. So you can kind of see that so basically they were plugs, and then they plant them into these little it's kind of like a mesh, and so this kind of helps keep those roots kind of constricted, so it's easier for you when you're repotting them. But the problem is that these don't always break down very effectively, and so sometimes this can actually end up being very harmful for your roots in the long run. So you do have to release them from here. So this, it looks like it wasn't potted deep enough, or maybe during the shipping, it just kind of moved it upward. So I'm actually going to be, definitely repotting this. I'm going to be cutting this, putting it in a much more well draining kind of substrate, because this looks like it's mostly cocoa coir and mostly peat as well. But I mean, it has a little bit of damage, but for $9.99 for a Rhaphidophora, hey, I'm fine with that. So I'm just gonna rehab these. There was this one and this one. And so this one came off of its little stand. Whoops. But this one looking really, really gorgeous. And it has this other one as well that was on the back. So gonna rehab these beauties. And lastly, did at a local shop, and I forgot to show you guys this last week. Well, I was in Maryland, so I couldn't. But a local plant shop that we go to often called NYC Succulents, he actually sold me this. This is, first I'll ask, does anybody recognize what plant this is? Or you don't have to remember the scientific name or anything, but
it's an air plant.
Yes.
Believe it or not, isn't that something?
It's huge.
Yeah,
it is huge. And I saw it and I was like, wait, are you actually selling these? He's like, yeah. And I was like, how much? He's like, yeah, give me $5 for it.
wow, what a deal. Wow.
I was like, absolutely. So I wanted to definitely show you guys. So this is a real plant. This is an air plant. So it's a Tillandsia. So it's in the pineapple family. It's a bromeliad. And so I have quite a few around my house, but they're much tinier. I do have some larger ones, but nowhere to this. So I definitely
Wow, beautiful specimen.
Like
Nice.
dragon's tooth.
Huh?
It looks like a dragon's tooth.
It does, absolutely. And one cool thing is you can see that silver shimmer on it. And so this is a great look at the trichomes. And so with these plants, they actually collect the water through their leaves. They don't have a conventional root system. When they do get roots, it's more so to fuse them to a surface. So they don't use their roots to collect really nutrients or anything like that. What they are doing is they're getting that all through the surface of their leaves. So they have these trichomes, which are basically these little, think of them like a little drawbridge. So when they're open, they're reflecting light and it looks really silvery. And then when you water them, it actually fills, it's like a little pocket and it fills up with water. And then the drawbridge, the door closes. And then this looks beautiful and green and it stops being shimmery. And then as soon as the plant gets really dehydrated again and it's time to water, it'll really get all silvery again. So that's a great indicator when you have to water this. So I am watering this in the next couple days. But yeah, absolutely amazing. Definitely wanted to show that. And Gail says it's like the pod from the Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Yes. So I think showing you this today worked out with the whole Halloween. Yeah, spooky. Julia just went, ooh.
Jocelyn, now, will you water that longer than the smaller air plants?
Yeah, I mean, I'll put it in probably for the a little. I would assume just the same amount of time. So this one is definitely the more tropical species.
Mhm.
So I will just put it in. I usually put my others for about an hour to
Oh.
really get them really get them saturated. So
Okay.
I'll do that. Oh yes, Paulette. So if it has no roots, how do you water it? Yes. So with these guys, you actually have to submerge them, but there's different types of air plants. So if you're gonna get one, just make sure that you learn if it's a mesic variety, or if it's a xeric variety. So basically, is it one that lives in a more arid environment, kind of more deserty, where they don't like to get soaked? They would much rather you kind of dunk them really quickly. Or kind of pour the water really quickly on top of them, give them a shake, and then they're good. Or the rainforest varieties, so they're the ones that are actually going to want to really get soaked because it's raining where they are. So they're used to getting soaked. But the issue is that because we have them indoors, the air circulation isn't always the best. So when you do dunk them, I leave them in water. I put them upside down for these. I just put them on their sides, and I'll kind of turn them if needed. But then afterwards, you hold them upside down and you give them a really good shake, because you don't want any water staying in those crevices. Also, I put a towel down and then I put them all upside down and I leave them there for a couple hours. So again, letting water just kind of run down so it doesn't stay in those crevices. And then I put them back in their respective places. So I have some air plants like on my shelves here. I have them in globes. I have them on pieces of driftwood. They're all throughout the house. So then I just put them right back where they belong. And I do this with these guys. I do that about every 2 weeks or so. So it's like about every 10 to 14 days. And yeah, and I've had some that, gosh, I'm going on 5 years now with with some of mine.
Wow.
Yeah, so they can be very long-lived, but many of them are what is known as monocarpic. So it means that once they start to blush and they start to produce a flower, that usually means it's at the end of its cycle of life. And so it'll produce a flower, it pumps all of its energy into that, and then as the flower starts to die back, it'll start to produce pups. So it'll start making either one baby, sometimes they make more little guys, basically like an aloe, if you're familiar with an aloe pup. So it creates a little baby, And then as the mother plant starts to die back, the little one starts to divert nutrition from any sugars, anything, moisture, anything from the mother plant goes to that baby as it's growing. So as the baby grows, this one kind of shrinks down and shrivels up. And then the cycle starts all over again. And quite a few of these are very, very long lived. Like the Tillandsia xerographica, for instance, it'll take easily 10-15 years just to get to about this size, and I've seen them get even larger. So yeah, they can be very long lived.
Now,
Very interesting plant.
Jocelyn, how do you water your airplanes that have attached themselves to, a bark or a log? How do you water that?
Yes. So if they have attached themselves, so sometimes you will find, I've been seeing in stores that a lot of folks are hot gluing them to surfaces. So I wouldn't recommend that, only because it's gonna, sometimes the chemicals, like these Tillandsia, are very sensitive to certain types of metals, certain types of chemicals. So that would actually start to rot little by slowly. But if you do have them where they've fused themselves, right, to a surface, they have their little roots there. It's difficult. You kind of have to finagle it, but you can indeed take that plank. If you have a bowl, maybe something along the lines of something, where you can submerge the plant. Now, in terms, just so that you know, with air plants, I don't recommend tap water. They can start to, they start to yellow. They don't really like tap water very much. So I use spring water. I also use aquarium water. And so that's a great way to also give them a little bit of nutrition. And there are specific air plant fertilizers that you spray onto the air plant, or there are some that you add to the water for the air plant, but they're very bromeliad specific. So they have the specific type of nitrogen that they're able to uptake through their leaves, through the trichomes. So they don't do well with other types of like all-purpose fertilizers. That'll burn them. But yes, if you have something connected like that, you just have to try to find a bowl. If it's easier for you to hold the plant, I mean, if you want to do it only for a couple minutes, that's perfectly fine. I like to just leave mine in for about an hour, but that's not necessarily the rule. Some folks say, oh yeah, well, I do it like for 5 minutes or so. The only issue is that might mean you have to do it a little bit more often. Because I do about 2 weeks between waterings for mine. But yeah, maybe finding some type of vessel, or if it's something, even maybe like a small vase or something that you could put with water and then kind of let it sit upside down in the vase. Yeah, it's something like that. You can also have a bowl, take the plant, and then use like a squirt bottle to really saturate it, if that's easier as well. But yeah, it gets difficult when they're mounted. The only reason I would say don't just take the whole mount and just submerge it is because depending on the material of the mount. So some things that are like cedar, they do really well. They're antifungal in general, but things like cork, for instance, if it gets repeatedly saturated and it's really humid in your home, very cool, the air circulation isn't optimal, it will start to rot and get mold. So I definitely wouldn't recommend that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So I did see one question about evergreen, so I'll answer that, and then we'll talk about Leca. So yes, so with the Chinese evergreen, yes, so those are Aglaonemas. So Aglaonemas are in the aroid family. Now these would prefer a more indirect light. There is an alarm going off. Hold on. Give me 2 seconds. There we go. So Brian, we just upgraded our cell phones, and my old cell phone was still on the charger, and it started going off. All right, here we go. Yes, so with Aglaonemas, so they prefer bright indirect light. So I wouldn't recommend necessarily putting them right up against your window, unless if it's an eastern window, that might be gentle enough, but definitely a western and southern window is going to cause them to burn. They're very sensitive to humidity changes, so they will crisp up if it's not humid enough. They prefer a little bit more moisture than, let's say, like monsteras or philodendrons. So you will find yourself watering them a little bit more often, a little less than a peace lily, but definitely a little bit more than something like a Dieffenbachia or a philodendron. So depending on the rate, how quickly they're drying out in your home, with Aglaonema, you might actually be watering them about anywhere from every 7 to 10 days or so. So they would prefer not to completely dry out between waterings. Yeah, they have a very kind of fleshy type of texture to their leaves. So yeah, and it's another thing with them. I think that one of their common names is drop tongue, because they do secrete, so all plants have a process called guttation, where they'll release excess moisture, and sometimes this is in the form of water droplets that fall off of the leaves. If you ever see like water droplets on the tip of your leaf, so it's just a way for the plant to get rid of excess moisture. And with Aglaonema, I believe it's them that have some corrosive chemicals that they produce. So don't place them on a wood surface that's not, what is that called? Finished. So like an unfinished wood, because it can cause staining. So you would want to put something under it. It's not something that happens all the time, but I have heard that is an issue with Aglaonema. Yeah, that's all I can think about for Aglaonema. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, and they are very toxic, so just be aware if you have any pets, to keep them away from them. All right, so Leca. Just to show you a little bit, because I get a lot of questions. What is Leca? How are you using it? So here's just a couple ways I use it. So this is Leca. I just poured a bunch into a cup because I have these big bins of it. So you can find them in different sizes. So you can actually get a mixed size, which is just a little bit of everything, which is what I like to do. But you can actually specifically purchase the smaller and larger sizes. So there's some like this, some that's much larger. Now these are perfect little circles. You can find them also kind of in odd shapes. I don't mind. I like those too. Here we go. Here's a great example as well. They'll come in some weird shapes. But I just like them, one, because they're incredibly porous. So they're very similar. They're clay like terracotta. And so they allow for a lot of more gas exchange. So a lot of air can just kind of go through these. Also, when you water something with these, they soak up the water and then slowly release it back out. So it's a really nice way to regulate your watering for species that, something like an epiphytic species, so species that don't necessarily really like wet feet. I like to add this, for instance, to all my mixes for my succulents and for my aeroids. So one, it adds these little pockets, right? Kind of like works basically like rocks essentially in my mix. And so they give me little air pockets because the roots need oxygen, they need air. If you have them in a really stagnant type of mix that's more similar to mud, it actually suffocates your roots. So adding different types of grit. So basically you can use something cheap too. It doesn't have to be expensive. Leca, the price kind of goes up and down. When I was first using Leca, I was actually getting it from the pet shop because I had it on hand already, because we have terrariums, we have frogs, we have fish. So I've been using it for years, but then it started getting really, popular for hydroponics. And then I started noticing that the price started really going up. Now, you can still find it pretty reasonably priced at pet shops. If you go to your garden center and you're like, okay, this is ridiculous. So I do recommend that hack. Just get the pet brand. It's literally the same thing, but it's meant for like aquariums or for frog enclosures, for gecko enclosures, much more affordable. And yeah, so the price can change really depending on where you're looking for them. So I've seen some, it's getting a little bit more inexpensive again. So kind of goes like an ebb and flow in terms of the pricing. So but there are alternatives. So if you're like, okay, this is cool and all, but I can't find a bag, under $40, and I'm not spending $40 on like a 10-pound bag. Sure. You can use things like poultry grit, very similar and much more cheap if you wanted to do that. But they don't come in these kind of neat little balls, that they're much more of a flat kind of, they almost look like little, like kind of like a slate. So they lay much more flat than this that has a lot of more of these little air spaces. So the air circulation is not as optimal as with Leca. So with these, you can keep your plants in them full time. So for instance, this is, we have quite a few plants that are in Leca full time. So this is one of our, whoops. Yeah, yeah. This is one of our anthuriums, but you can see that root system there. I love when you can actually see a lot of our pots. So this one is a glass pot. There is there are no, oh my gosh, drainage holes. There are no drainage holes in this one. This is how it came to us. So this was actually, I think this was Candice Lau. So you might be familiar with her if you've watched, she does some things on YouTube. She happens to live a few blocks away. So we have actually had the pleasure of connecting with her and purchasing some plants from her. So she had it set up like this, and it's been happy. So we decided we're going to leave it just like this to keep it happy. And so, and this is actually a new leaf. So when we bought it, it had the leaf was pretty damaged. And now it's produced this leaf, really, really beautiful. So we're, and it looks like it's going to produce, there's another leaf coming in right over here. So we're excited about that. Now, this is I brought this one specifically because this is a great example of one of the issues that can come up, but this does come up with soil substrate as well. So because there's no drainage holes, the salts that are in the water will sometimes accumulate, right? So these are salts. This isn't mold or anything like that. It's literally salts that will collect. You might see this sometimes in your houseplants when you're watering them from the tap. So this guy actually gets tap water. When you're watering them from the tap, that you'll start to see kind of like a crust that forms. And so that's easy. You just have to really rinse it, give it a good rinse to just rinse out all that excess salts in there. It's harder when it's like this because there's no exit point. So one thing is literally doing a flush. So basically filling up, washing it off, emptying it out, kind of giving it a rinse, taking these out, giving them a good wash, and then kind of reintroducing them. But that's really the only thing you can do when you're in this kind of closed container like this. But it's been doing wonderfully. The roots are absolutely gorgeous. So we're gonna just keep it going in here. No complaints from the plant, so we're not gonna mess up its little its little setup there. Now I also like to use Leca. So not only do we have quite a few of our plants in Leca, just like that, living their lives. I specifically love Leca for my propagations. So that's really what I wanted to show you today. So for instance, this is a mix of Leca and perlite. This is a Hoya of Rosita. And so this one I got as a cutting, and I've had it now, gosh, it's over a year now that it's been in Leca like this. And what I did is I actually get these glass stirrers. These are used in chemistry. And I love these because I can keep them in water. I don't have to worry about them rotting. It's not plastic, so I'm not worrying about that leaching into the water or affecting my plant in any way. It's just glass. So, and I love it because it kind of doesn't really, it goes with the glass. Aesthetically, I really like it. And then I just have them attached here with some plant tape. But yeah, this is great. This one also doesn't have a drainage hole, so I just kind of look to see. So now it's actually due for a fill up, and then I fill this up, and I have them like this. So I have a couple of my Hoya in a mix of perlite and Leca, and yeah, it's less mess. I just find that a lot of my species that are epiphytic, so these are species that would otherwise be growing in trees. So they don't, or sometimes like rocky outcrops, they don't want to grow in soil. they don't do well in soil. It's like you're treading that line where you might accidentally cause them to rot. And I'm just going with this type of substrate with epiphytics, epiphytic plants has been great for me. Now, downsides, as I mentioned, if you have something like that where there are no drainage holes, just making sure that it's glass, so see-through glass, I will say, because you want to be able to see what the moisture content is. You don't want to, there are some species, for instance, like this Hoya, I like to let it completely dry and then I top it off. There are some species that you might want to keep like this, but more hydroponically, where you're keeping it in water all the time. And so also making sure that it's glass so you can see through it. If you use something opaque, it's very hard to decipher whether it's dry or not. This will basically also change color when you actually wet it. It becomes much darker. And so you can really also visually see when the substrate is much more dry. And what I like to do is also use it for my succulent propagations. So these are all leaves that have fallen off of my succulents. And so I have quite a few of these. And this all started as an experiment. So a few of you who have been here for a while probably know the story. But basically, I love succulents. Most of the majority of my plants are succulents. And I wanted to really propagate my own. And while other things like jade, for instance, or kalanchoes, I could just pop them into the dirt. They were totally fine. But when I was trying to do echeverias or chryssulas or anything like that, and I would put them into the soil, I kept losing them. They just kept rotting. And when I tried all those hacks where you put them into soil and you lay them out in a circle and they looked all pretty, and then 99% of them were just rotting. And maybe out of like the 10 leaves that I had, one, maybe two would actually root and be okay. Everything else would just mold up right on top of the dirt. And I couldn't keep the consistency right. Was I keeping it too wet? Was I keeping it too dry? Yeah. And so because I had the Leca, that's when I actually really started working with Leca. I had just set up another terrarium and I had a bunch of Leca left. And I said, hold up, I'm going to try this on Leca because this, at least, it's not going to go, it dries so fast, it's not going to get moldy. So let me try this. So I grabbed a saucer. So I have a bunch of these that are terracotta and I have a bunch of these that are plastic. So if you wanted to retain water a little bit longer, I would recommend the plastic. If you only have the terracotta, just be warned that, you know, it will wick the water away from it. So it will stain, it will leave a watermark on that surface. So be warned if you don't have like plastic or something under it. So try to go with plastic, or there's also glazed ceramic saucers for your plant. So these are literally the saucers that go under your plant pot. They aren't something special. You can get these for like $1, different sizes. So for this one specifically, what I just did is I put some Leca inside of here, and then what I did is I put these little leaves in different little nooks and crannies. And yeah, they started really rooting well. So like, for instance, this was a more recent one. You can see this guy. And you can see that little root. Hold on, let's see. Here we go. So you can see that little root system on this little leaf. And they just root really, really well on this. And I did experiment with these. So these, I've just kind of left them on here just to see how they grow. They're starting to outgrow the dome. As you can see right here, this guy started bending because I used this dome on top. So I put this right on top. And so they're starting to outgrow it. So I'm going to have to move these guys, the tallest ones at the very least, because yes, they are starting to bend because they can't get past the surface here. But with these, so what I found was when I was letting them just kind of air dry, just be, you know, up out in the air, the issue I was having is that it was drying really, really quickly. So I was kind of looking every other day to try to top it off. And so what I do is I don't fill the whole thing up with water up to the top, but rather about midway, so that the top layer is dry. So it does wick up the moisture, but there isn't just water floating on top. And the majority of the water is right below the surface. And so what happens is that when you put these little leaves down, they're on this surface, it's not completely saturated with water, and the humidity that rises promotes them, basically triggers them to start putting roots out that go into the crevices where the water is. And then they really start to take hold, and their root systems go they explode really, really quickly. So I definitely recommend that. But the issue with the dome, what I was finding is that while they were rooting for me very quickly, they would also dry out really quickly. So the mother leaf that you start with, it would shrivel really, really quickly. And so while there was still the new little plant that was growing, because basically that's what happens is you get the leaf, it starts to root, then it starts to produce a baby plant at the base. And then the mother leaf basically gets drained of nutrients and moisture, and then the little plant is what continues growing. So I noticed that the mother leaf, though, was shrinking super quickly, and I was being left with these itty bitty plants. And sometimes if I wasn't on top of it, they would dry out way too quickly. So they needed that mother leaf for a little bit longer, right, to really help with the growth process. So what I did is I had these plastic dollar bins, dollar bowls, and so I just put one over for kind of a greenhouse effect, and it made the difference. And so I leave these on. These are on the windowsill, so you see it's larger, so it does come off the windowsill, so therefore it's not a tight seal. So there is air exchange, but the majority of the humidity is bouncing off the top of the lid and kind of being bounced back. So they're so plump, as you can see. They're really nice and juicy looking. So and you can see here even the bottoms, this jade right here. Yeah, it just really keeps them really happy like that. So I had done an experiment then where I said, all right, I'm really gonna try this out. And so for a year, I had one on one side without a dome and the other side with a dome. And I started them at the exact same time. And I'll find those pictures. I was trying to find them before class. But you could see the difference. There was one that was similar to this beautiful, lush kind of little jungle under the dome, and then the other one had like tiny plants, and a lot of shriveled mother leaves. Basically, it was not looking very happy. And so what I did is after I actually took those pictures, I said, okay, I'm sorry. So I put a dome over it, and then it started growing. So yeah, I really, really recommend the dome, but because they are succulents, just make sure it's not a tight seal, so that it's not, that the bottom basically is not completely covered. So because I have them on the windowsill, it basically stops here. So there's this little opening here for air to come in and out without a problem. And if I do see a lot of condensation, I will remove the lid, give it a couple hours to kind of air out, and then I'll put it right back on. So like for instance, here you can see there was a little bit of condensation, not too much though. That's fine. It's literally like the only place there's some condensation on there. But just on this side, you see some condensation. But yeah, I swear by it. And so what I do with my succulent propagations, I start them all in Leca. I'm doing that with, well, all my Hoya, with all my snake plants as well. Every single like Ripsalis that I have, my euphorbias, my haworthias, I have aloes, elephant bushes. So they're all starting in these little trays. Also in little cubes. So basically I bought these dollar votive candle holders that are just like a little square, just like a little cube. And I just do that. I put them with some Leca, and I put my little cuttings in there. So therefore they're supported by the weight. So they're just kind of lying there, and then they take root. So I really, really recommend just experimenting with Leca if you never done so. There are some plant shops that are selling them by the Ziploc bag, which is much more affordable as well. So if you're trying not to buy an entire bag because you don't know what to do, you can absolutely just purchase them in smaller amounts as well, if that's available at a local plant shop. Another way that you can actually use Leca, so I mentioned propagations. For me, it's my favorite method of propagation. Also putting it in my mix, and then having also the plants just live in it 24/7. But it's also a nice way for humidity trays. So if any of your plants need a little bit more humidity, it's a really nice way to, instead of just putting regular pebbles, to put Leca in there as well. So so I like doing that with a couple of our anthuriums. So I have them in there, and yeah, so they make a great grit for that. Oh yes, so question, Deanna, when your propagations are ready to transplant, what substrate do you use? Great question. So it depends on the species. So for instance, for these guys, these little like Chryssulas and Echeverias, so these are like jade plants. So with these, it's a succulent mix that is a base of succulent soil. And then I mix in some type of grit, whether it be, so I add perlite. If I have some extra Leca, I'll throw it in there. If not, I mix in poultry grit. Let me see if I can. Here we go. I'll show you with my Jatropha here. So this little guy, if you remember, I picked him up in June and all the leaves were dead because it shipped from Ecuador, and it had these beautiful, beautiful leaves, and they were melted. They were moldy and horrible. And Equigenera that shipped them here said, we're so sorry, here's a credit, buy another plant, but you can keep it, keep the stalk, because that's really all that was left after all the leaves were dead. It was just a stick like this. And I said, all right, well, I mean, a lot of its energy is stored in here. As long as this didn't rot, technically it should come back. It's been a very slow process since June. This was June 10th when I picked it up. And look at this now. I'm finally getting the first big leaf here. I've shown it a couple times where it was like a tiny little green thing and then a little bit bigger. And so now you can actually see it. They do get bigger. So the leaves were about this big. So it's there. And now at the base, you can see there are more leaves coming out. It's just taking so long. It's just taking so long. But they're such beautiful leaves. And so I'm very, very, very excited. And I'm very happy that Equigenera was really nice like that. They didn't just destroy the plant. They were like, here's a credit. Just go and you can keep it. Just maybe bring it back. Try to see if you can bring it back. So kudos to Equigenera for that. But this is a great example of the mix that I use. So what I do is I use a base of succulent soil, of a succulent mix, which is usually it has like a little bit of peat. It's like a potting soil with perlite, a little bit of bark in there. So that's like a generic succulent mix. But then I add a little bit more of the orchid bark. I like to add a little bit more orchid bark, but more of the chips. Then I add a lot of perlite. So this is those white little stones. It kind of feels like styrofoam. So they're very, very porous. Also another great thing to add to help with drainage. In this one, there is some leca in here. There's just some weird shaped leca. There's some round leca in here. Yep. I threw some leca in here. And then I also threw in a little bit, teensy amount of worm castings and horticultural charcoal. So horticultural charcoal is great to add to your plants. You don't need a lot, just a little bit in your mix. It's great because one, it helps with if you are using certain fertilizers, some people that like to add kind of more like fish emulsifiers, things like that. They're a little bit stinky. The charcoal is really great with kind of lowering odor control, but it also helps, it nourishes the plant. It also nourishes any beneficial organisms that are living in your substrate. So you do want beneficial organisms in here. So things like springtails or even isopods, they will feed on that charcoal. And so it's just great to have in there overall. So yeah, so it's a little bit of worm castings. I add horticultural charcoal, some type of like rock basically. So leca, poultry grit, it's just great because it's just so fine. So and cheap. Because I get like a huge 15-pound bag for like $8, $9. Yeah, and then I add perlite in there with a little bit of more orchid bark, just a little bit, not too much, because orchid bark will retain a nice amount of water. So these guys are a tropical succulent, so therefore they don't want to be completely saturated all the time, but they do appreciate a little extra moisture retention. So I threw that in there. Someone is asking if it's a Buddha belly. Yes. Yes, that is a common name, is the Buddha belly. So this gets very bulbous, kind of similar to if you think of like the ponytail palm, just gets like a really, really bulbous kind of base, the stem. But yeah, so this one's really skinny, but it'll get there eventually. But yeah, it definitely took forever. Oh, and so Cheryl says, I have one with 4 baby leaves like yours. When they get bigger, I get another baby and I lose the largest leaf. I wonder if I will ever get the leaves to grow big. Okay. So what I have actually been doing with this guy, barely water it. So I would recommend to maybe lessen the watering just slightly. So it could be a little bit of excess watering can be causing the leaf drop. So this guy, I water it, I give it a good saturating, I give it a bottom water, get it fully saturated, and then I leave it alone for about 3 weeks. So I barely water this guy, and it's been a progressive, you know, growth like that. So they do retain a nice amount of moisture. So that could be a possibility. So if you are watering it more often than that, I would say to cut that down, just in case, because that might be what's happening. Also another reason why it might be dropping leaves, so if it's actively putting out leaves, you want to have some sort of nutrition in the soil. So I, for instance, have like the horticultural charcoal. I have a little bit of worm castings. So that definitely helps with the nitrogen content, because it takes a lot of energy to even do this. And a lot of that, you know, it goes into that process. And so so I definitely would say maybe add a little bit of worm castings that might help, and maybe bring back the watering, because the worm castings, if you put it in your mix too, just a teensy bit, talking like a sprinkle, that also, you know, if you went a little heavy-handed, it does also retain a lot of moisture. So that's why you really just want to kind of sprinkle it in there. But that might be helpful. So far I've been lucky with this guy. I'll keep you guys updated, but it's just, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leaves starting at the base, but they're so tiny. And then this is the only one that we can actually really see up close. Yeah, no, but yeah, I would definitely recommend a really nice succulent mix for that. Looks like some section of Angkor Wat Temple in Cambodia. That's so cool. Yes, and so to continue with that question though, in terms of the substrate, so yes, the other plants that I like to propagate in Leca are some aroids. So as you see, like some anthuriums or some like philodendrons or monstera. So with that though, while they appreciate a well-draining mix, they do want just a little bit more organic matter in there. So I'll throw a little bit more worm castings, cocoa coir, a lot more bark, a lot of bark in there. But then I do kind of do that base succulent mix. I just kind of add on to that. So I make it a little bit more bulky and add a little bit more organic matter to it. So that helps hold a little bit more moisture. So these guys want to kind of get watered, soak up the water, and then be dry. And so a lot of aroids, they do want something similar, but they don't want to dry up super fast. It's more so I want a little bit of time, soak it up, and then I want to completely dry, and then I want water again. So these guys want to dry and then be left alone for a while and then get watered. So yeah, so I basically create that type of mix, but then I add some more soil amendments. So yeah, and there is a great mix now that I started using that is a cocoa coir with lava rock. And so I add that now to my soil mixes for my aroids, and so far so good. I'll see if Brian actually, I don't think I showed you guys. Brian got a plant. I'll see if he's able to bring it over, because it's a little too large. Let's see. Let's see if he can. So I'll show you what he got, because we did a big mix for that. But yeah. Oh, hey, let's see, because it's way too heavy for me. So I can't bring it. I can't be the one to bring it. Yeah, you can move that over. So to my surprise, Brian said he was going to pick up this plant and that it was a one leaf rooted cutting. And I was like, oh, great. And then he shows up with this. Let's see. Hold on. Wait. Hold on. This is the pot for one that we had to put it into. And we had to give it a really big mix. I did add a little bit of sphagnum to the mix. It's due for water, but hold on, I'm gonna lower it. Yeah, he's helping on one side because this is huge. Look at this leaf. Hold on, we can go down. Oh, look at this. So this is the Monstera Thai, the Thai Monstera, the Thai constellation. So absolutely huge leaf. So when Brian said he was picking up a one leaf cutting, this is not what I expected. So look at the size of that thing. And so there is some damage, of course, but what I love about Thai constellation monsteras is that their variegation is a stable variegation. So that means that even if this leaf dies off and we get new leaves, they're always going to have white. They're always going to be speckled. They're always going to have this kind of splash. Thank you. I was like, I can't lift that by myself. Thank you, baby. Yeah, and so it's stable. So no matter what leaves we get from that, it's always going to produce variegated leaves. The issue with Monstera albos, right, that are very, very popular, the issue with them is they have unstable variegation. And so therefore, if you drop something. Therefore, if you get a new leaf, there's always a 50-50 whether you are going to get some white or an all green leaf. Oh, this is your albo. And so this is his albo. And so just so you to see the difference. So you see one side is completely green. The other side has this beautiful, beautiful variegation. But here you see there's just a lot more green. There is some white here. I think, is this the newest leaf? No, this is the newest leaf that just came in. And so you can really see, but again, it's like a hit or miss. You're wondering, if every time a new leaf comes out, are you gonna get some white or not? And so is this the one you won in the auction? Yes. And so Brian, he had put in a bid for this, and then he was like, oh, I'm not gonna win. And so he went, and then literally, was it the same day, he found a seller locally, and then he went and picked it up, and then he got the notification that he won the bid. So he ended up with two. And so, yeah, but these guys, so that's the only downside, is they're beautiful. They get more chunks of white, but it's unstable. So it's kind of a gamble. You don't know what you're gonna get. But oof, I'm excited to see. I know that the new leaves of that Thai are gonna come in most likely very small. So even when you get cuttings like that with giant looking leaves that look super impressive, it does kind of revert back to giving you kind of immature leaves, and then it starts to get larger again. So but I mean, wow, that's not what I expected. When he walked in, I was like, it looked like an umbrella. It's like, what are you bringing in? Yes, Sue, totally could use that as a Halloween mask. Absolutely. And then oh yes, and then Cheryl says that her Buddha belly looks pregnant. Yes, and they can get very, very bulbous like that. I actually saw quite a few in El Salvador. They use them commonly outside in their plantings. And I was so excited seeing a bunch of Jatropas. I was like, oh wow, because that's not what I expected. I had always I knew that Jatropas liked more humidity, but every time I've seen photos, it always looked like a more like a rocky kind of thing, kind of ecosystem. And so seeing them in people's like ornamental like front gardens was so weird. But yeah, no, they were happy and beautiful. And then Irene, do you spray mist or pour water over? Okay, so Irene, in regards to which plant? So for the Buddha belly, for the Jachopa, for that one, I do bottom watering. So for the majority of my plants, I do bottom watering. Now for the ones that are in containers that have no drainage holes, then yes, we're pouring water, but it's very strategic pour, so we're making sure it's not too much. But that takes practice, and it depends on your vessel. So you know, you have to kind of see how much you can put in there without you know, kind of overfilling it, right? Because then you don't want to really drown your plant, essentially, add too much water and then overwater it, because that can happen. If there's just too much water, the plant can't effectively use it. That is the case, especially in winter, and that's why it's recommended to lessen the frequency of watering as well, because our plants are not using water as quickly as they do usually in the growing months, in the summer, spring and summer, because the light is getting much less intense. There's less light as well. So we have less daylight. The temperature is much cooler. So the plants they're not using water at that same rate. So if you continue to water just as you would usually, if your home is basically changing with the season, it's cooling down, and you definitely want to lessen the frequency. Now, if you have like a thermostat and your home is literally your plants have no idea that it's winter and they're growing and they're completely normal, you can keep doing as you are, you know, continue your current regimen, and that's fine. For us, we kind of have it split. So we have some plants that we keep by our windows, so they do notice that the temperature has dropped, the humidity has dropped. So we do have to kind of alter our care strategies with them. But then we have plants that are deeper in, like these guys, where they do notice that there's been a slight change in humidity. So we've been running the humidifier. But really, in terms of watering, it's the same. And for the plants in the cabinet, they have no idea what's happening. So they're none the wiser. So we continue the same care. But yeah, so but yeah, I mean, in last things about Leca, honestly, it's something, what I love is it's reusable. So you can use this over and over and over again for different plants. You can just clean them off. So that's the issue with things like sphagnum. So it's not sustainably sourced. Now with Leca, it's basically a bunch of clays that are then heated. So it's not the best process either. But at least the product can be used over and over and over again. Will it eventually break down? Sure, it might start to crumble a little bit, erode away, but it's going to be at a much slower rate. As something like sphagnum, where it's unsustainably being harvested. And yes, while you can use it a few times, it does start to rot and break down relatively quickly within a few years. This is definitely going to last longer. Now, in terms of cleaning it, you can rinse them out, wash them. You can boil them. You can pour, have them sit in some warm water with some hydrogen peroxide if you wanted to sterilize them. Some people put them in their oven and bake them to sterilize them. I've seen people actually put them in their fridge, as in their freezers as well. So there's so many options, but again, you can continuously use this over and over and over again. So that's why it's one of my go-to substrate, kind of my soil amendments, because it's just so, as you can see, it's so dynamic. There's just so many different ways I can use it. So I'm constantly having to get this, and yeah, I can't recommend it enough. Leca is really great to have, at least on hand. And yeah, if you've never used it, as I mentioned, try to see if you can get a smaller amount. Yeah. Oh yes, Judy, when you said that, Leca, yes, yes. Yes, I was seeing 10 and 15 pound bags for about yeah, like $35-40. Um and so it was getting a little expensive, and then I saw that there were smaller bags. So for instance, because I was buying a 10-pound bag at the pet shop for $14.99 of Leca, and it was 10 pounds. So that's why back then, I was like, I would get it so cheap. And then I started seeing that the prices were going up really high. Oh, Irene, yes. So Amazon has Leca. So 2.5 pounds for $12.99, and then 6 pounds for $24.99. Yeah. So it's still a little higher than it used to be. But that's still not too bad. During COVID, there were shortages of Leca, so you could not find Leca. Like there was also shortages of terracotta, of potting mix. So a lot during during the pandemic, there was a huge boom in the houseplant hobby. And so it caused, yeah, there was people were stuck at home, right? So that was one of the hobbies that that really took hold. And I mean, it was great for us that we're already in the industry. It's like, oh cool, that's nice that other people are enjoying enjoying the houseplants as well. But it was a very dramatic, very dramatic change. There was like so many stores that had to switch to shipping, that had never offered shipping before. People that were used to seeing a couple of customers a day to filling out dozens of online orders. And then, the impacts on the supplies. So things like Leca, things like terracotta. I remember I had my sister-in-law, I have a ridiculous amount of terracotta. Over the years, I've have quite a collection of terracotta pots of all weird shapes and sizes. I have a closet, literally, that's the majority of it is just pots. And my sister-in-law had been contacting me, and like, hey, do you have a pot, like a 3.5 inch pot? Oh, do you have a 5-inch pot? Because she was like, there was none. And she would send me pictures of Lowe's and Home Depot, and all of their terracotta was gone. The only things that were left were the ginormous pots, but all the small pots, all the little saucers, everything was gone. All the Leca was gone. The potting soil was bad. It was bad. So I was glad that over the years I had hoarded a ridiculous amount of terracotta. And yeah, I had it accessible. Oh, Hank, can I bring in elephant ears and mandavillas from outside during the winter? Yeah, so for elephant ears, they die back to a corm. Yeah, absolutely, you can bring those inside. I have plenty of neighbors that actually have a bunch of elephant ears, and they do just that. They put them in their hallways, the corms, and during the winter. With the mandavillas, yeah, that should be fine too, to bring them indoors, and then yeah, bring them out once the temperature is consistently over 55. That should be fine.
Do they need watering, either one?
Oh yes, oh yes.
Yeah.
They do need watering. It's just less because you're bringing them indoors. So they're not going to be drying as quickly. So if you were used to kind of spraying them down with the hose rather frequently, it's definitely lowered. So like for the elephant ears, I would let them completely dry out. So maybe like every like 10 days or so. And with the mandavillas, well,
I never water my
Okay.
mandavillas.
oh no,
No, they get enough from the rain or
Oh,
whatever.
yeah. So I mean, I would say water sparingly. So maybe also about like every 10 days or so, just a little sprinkling, nothing too and just make sure that they are still getting some sunlight. Well, the corm, if you have the elephant ear, then it's completely bare. It's just the corm. It doesn't have to be in any light. It can be in in the dark basically, but just make sure that the area that you have it in gets a nice amount of air circulation. You don't want it to produce any mold or anything.
And then when I put the corn back out in the springtime, how long does it take until it gets leaves?
Oof. It can depend on the corm.
Mm.
I mean, it's relatively quickly. It might start off kind of slow, and then within a period of about 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, you might easily see it just from going from coming out to at least having one small leaf. It really depends on the temperature, the consistency of that temperature, as the corm is starting to sprout. So if there's like a lot of dips of temperature, it kind of keeps it stagnant, kind of stops, and then it'll go again. So it really depends on the temperature, but it can be it can start really slow and then you'll come out and it can be very, very quick.
Okay, great, thanks.
You're welcome. Betty, potholes make drainage discs with the little clay balls in a flat mesh to go in the bottom of the pots. Saves me from eaters. 2 6-inch or 1 2-inch bags for $1.99 at Lowe's. Is it Lowe's? And Big Lots. Makes watering easier. Oh, that's awesome. I have not seen that. I have to look that up. That's awesome. Hell yeah. Oh, yes, definitely. I'm going to try to find it. And if I can't, I'll message you if you can take a picture and show me, because that sounds awesome. I love when there's all these new little plant hacks and really cool things that are coming onto the market. And sometimes you find them in these places like the Super Saver stores. You find these really cool things for house plants. Oh, here we go. Hold on one second. Oh, that's awesome. Potholes. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, they fit right in the bottom of the pot, and I put the soil on top. Holds moisture.
That is so cool. That is awesome.
It's got www.potholes.com.
Oh
You can
my
get 'em on
gosh.
Amazon. Yeah, they're cool.
I need to order a few of those to experiment. That is so cool. That is awesome. Thank you. Oh, yes, please, anyone, if you have any cool things, any cool gadgets, anything like that, always share them. I'm always interested in looking at these really cool new kind of hacks for plants. I love experimenting with them, so I'm definitely picking those up. And then let's see. Okay, we got 2 minutes left, so I'll take this question. Phoebe, I picked up some tulip bulbs at a 99-cent store. Do I need to refrigerate them before planting? And if so, how long? Well, with tulips, no, you don't have to refrigerate them. You can actually plant your tulip bulbs now. So like tulip bulbs, dandelion bulbs. So those can be planted in the fall. You can put some layers like a little bit of mulch. So it's like soil, a little bit of mulch on top to kind of keep them, if you're going to plant them outside, to kind of like a lasagna to keep them from freezing through, just for a little bit of extra protection. And then then they'll just be good to go in the spring. So I just planted a bunch of dandelion bulbs, not dandelion, daffodils, sorry, daffodil bulbs and tulip bulbs. So just like a week and a half ago. So you can, October's a great time. You can still do it early November. But yeah, you can still do that. Now, if you were trying to do them in pots indoors, yeah, again, you don't need to refrigerate them. You can actually just put them in maybe the coolest room in your home. So sometimes if it's like in your entryway, you can put them in a bag, like in a paper bag. So there's a nice amount of airflow, but they're just in a cooler temperature. Then that's perfectly fine. So you don't necessarily have to refrigerate them. Now, refrigerating them might help a little bit, but I have tried refrigerating daffodil bulbs before, and it's like, while they're fine for maybe a couple weeks, I had a couple that were they would just start to rot. And I think it's because a conventional, like a regular refrigerator, I think it just retained a little bit too much moisture. And so it just did not work. There are like specific refrigerators that are meant for cold storage for plants, for seeds, in general, which are better suited for that. But in a regular old refrigerator, I wasn't having a lot of luck. So I'm not sure if I was just doing something incorrectly, but I did not have luck regularly refrigerating them. But I know you can plant them now if it's fall. Yeah, because they'll be fine. They'll be fine if you just add a little bit, just make sure that there's a little bit of coverage on there. Yeah, and then they'll be good to go. All right. Here we go. It's 1:01, so I'm gonna hop off. But thank you so much for everyone for joining in. It's always a joy. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Halloween. I will post up those book titles in the Facebook, and then I'll make a bigger list that I'll share with everyone, just in case that might be of interest. Because yeah, I have quite a few books on it. So I'll pull some of my favorite titles, so that you can check those out if those are of interest. And yeah, with some of the books too, like at least I know for the Cunningham book, that is a PDF, as I mentioned. So if you are interested and you're not comfortable with trying to find it online, even if it's free, let me know. I'm happy to send that your way. So I'll send that. All right, have a great one. Please be safe, everyone. Oh, you guys are very, very welcome, and happy Halloween. Enjoy the rest of your Monday and the rest of your week. And I will see you next week. Have a great one, everyone. Bye for now.